Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. That's my email address. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today we're discussing a 175-piece limited edition in steel, which I believe to have been launched in the 2014 model year, one of the rarest modern Zenith El Primero variants. This is the Zenith El Primero Chronomaster Open Retrograde, powered by the rarely seen caliber 4023. The watch is an open escapement, a power reserve, a chronograph, and a retrograding date. 42 millimeters in stainless steel. The watch measures 14.8 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip, 50.4 millimeters, and then 21 millimeters is the spacing between the lugs. Throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, and the watch wears large. I would say you probably need a wrist of at least 15 centimeters circumference to get the most out of this aesthetically. You can see it looks fine on my wrist, but you wouldn't want to go too much smaller, and again, my wrist is 16 centimeters circumference. The strap is of a high grade, and Zenith straps really are quite nice. Large rectangular scale alligator leather in dark brown. There's a monotone stitch. The edge is broad, and you can see it's a sheer cut edge showing the thick layers of leather construction. There's rubber on the underside to prevent the heat, oil, sweat, moisture, and grit of the wrist from soiling the leather and reducing its lifespan. The rubber also feels great against the wrist. Note, there's no crimping, there's no gouging of the holes. It is a brand new Zenith factory strap, and it's equipped with a alternately satinated and polished trigger actuated double deployment clasp. You see Zenith using ceramic pin snaps inside the clasp to preserve its tight tolerances and its sharp snap shut over the long term. And of course, it's a twin trigger release, so you can't accidentally pop it open simply by throwing your wrist or creating a sharp change of momentum. It needs to be double depressed. Press both triggers to open the clasp. It will not open accidentally due to violence. Now, the case is the Chronomaster case, more traditional in design than the Dayfi, which is a large 70s inspired tonneau. This is a design that is a lot more conventional. It's a round case. It has integrated lug profiles. There's a little bit of curvature to the case, compound curves to add some organic beauty. The lugs have minimal beveling, though you can see it's there, and they're squared off with a little bit of a down tuck at their end, which means they're ultimate end comes to a point between the tops and the downward faces. You can see the pump pushers are vintage inspired. We have the Zenith Star logo on the crown. There's a little kerf underneath the crown so you can dig your nail in to pull it out. Nice ergonomic touch. The bezel is vertical, and then it has a narrow conical portion leading up to a heavily cambered sapphire that I suppose is designed to recreate the look of a vintage plexiglass with that curve and loft to it. Outboard, you can see there's a concentric circular brushed graining to the silvered tachymeter, so calibrated to 500. Assuming you're not good with mental decimals, this tachymeter is used with the chronograph to gauge the speed of things moving very fast. The dial is a silver sunburst, the center dial is, and then we have these cantilevered applique steel indices that have been rhodium plated. The watch does have lume. You can see it's fairly well loomed, though somewhat irregular in its application, and that's because there are a lot of separate features on this dial that crowd out the indices. The watch has a 52-hour power reserve, and you can see there's a power reserve indicator at the base of the dial. The watch is a chronograph. You can see it has chronograph seconds, it has semi-instantaneous jumping chronograph minutes, and then coaxial with that, we have a retrograde date scale, and you can see it is a retrograde style date, coaxial with the chronograph minutes, and you can see how the chronograph minutes jump works. It is a semi-instantaneous jump. We also have an open escapement. This is a special design commissioned by former CEO and President Terry Nataf, who wanted to be able to see the escapement on the dial side. This movement, the 4023, predates this model, as it first came out in 2005 when Nataf was running the company. There's a black polished bezel that handsomely surrounds the escapement, and then there are blued screws that hold it in place. There's an applique Zenith Star. The key to this open escapement idea is that we have special bridges that have been evacuated to show us the fourth wheel with its extended pinion, this tri-spoke acting as constant seconds for when the chronograph is not running. So you have the fourth wheel, the escape wheel, the anchor, and then the hairspring to balance. And by opening up the bridge so you can see this from the dial side, Nataf created about 90% of the mechanical intrigue of a tourbillon at about 10% of the price. Now the watch does include a quick set mechanism for the retrograde date, so if you just want to play with it and see how it works, you can easily do so. The watch does not have hacking seconds, as traditionally that has not been a feature of El Primeros. It does have a very crisp and pleasing column wheel, and you can see on the reverse side of the movement that column wheel is visible amid the steel levers and horns of the chronograph mechanism. The El Primero column wheel is very traditional, well-tuned, and exceptionally satisfying. You can see this is number 113 of 175. The watch has a lateral clutch, and it has long been a lateral clutch automatic winding chrono, all of this pivoting on 39 joules. The nice thing about the El Primero chronograph is that it has a column wheel and a lateral clutch with all of the levers, horns, the yoke, the recentering hammer is easy to see. So most automatic chronos don't give you anything to see. This one gives you everything to see, making it quite attractive. It beats away at the historic 36,000 vibrations per hour, and that 10 beat per second, 5 hertz beat rate was part of the historic appeal of the watch, and it's one of the reasons why the El Primero chronograph seconds hand sweeps just a little smoother, as back in 1969, the El Primero became the first integrated high-beat automatic chronograph movement, and significantly, compared to its rivals from Seiko and Heuer Buren, it is the only movement from that race to build the first automatic chronograph that is still in production today. And impressively, all of this is 100 meters water resistant, so put it on a water resistant strap, and this really can be a swimmable sports watch. Reach out to Tim Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.